welcome to another episode of On The Go Movie Reviews, where we talk about movies we've literally just seen in the cinema on our drive home. I'm Amy.
And I'm Josh.
And today we're talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, which we have just seen in the cinema at 12:01 on the 2nd of July. And it's now 2:30 in the morning, and we are driving home. So, for all of you who haven't seen it, here's the trailer.
Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too. I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
What?
I'm kidding. Look, keep up the good work. Because I am going on vacation.
Heads up, Nick Fury's calling you.
I don't really want to talk to Nick
Answer
Fury.
the phone.
Why?
Because if you don't talk to him, then I have to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. You sent Nick Fury to voicemail?
I gotta go.
You do not ghost Nick Fury.
What up, dorks? What's up? We're just talking about the trip.
I'm here in St. Marco Polo's.
Oh, I think MJ really likes me.
That reminds me when I first fell in love.
You're a very difficult person to contact, Spider-Man. This is Mr. Beck.
We could have used someone like you on my world.
Your world?
Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The snap to our hole in our dimension.
You're saying there's a multiverse?
We have a job to do, and you're coming with us.
There's gotta be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel? Unavailable. But I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
What do you want, Peter?
I want to go back on my trip with the girl who I really like and tell her how I feel. MJ, I
am Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not.
I mean, it's kind of obvious.
You're right, you may not be ready, but this is my responsibility. Saving the world requires sacrifice. Sometimes people die.
Oh my God.
I just always feel like I'm putting my friends in danger. The world needs the next Iron Man.
You going to step up or not?
Out of here! Get on the jet! Who are you? I work with Spider-Man.
You work for Spider-Man?
I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. New plan.
Josh, what did you think of Spider-Man?
I absolutely loved it.
It was so good.
I loved every single second, every single frame I enjoyed.
Did you love it just because you are a complete Spider-Man fanboy, or did you enjoy it because of what it was?
I enjoyed it because of what it was. I think that it's got a very, it's got a great narrative which contains some like constant twists. So not just like twists towards the end, but like constant twists throughout it. I loved the teenage drama. I thought that was fantastic. It's almost like in the same way that like you watch the Ant-Man movies, you get heists. You watch the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, you get these like sci-fi space operas.
Yeah.
With the Spider-Man movies, you get this like teen drama.
But it's not angsty teen drama, which I appreciate, because angsty teen drama just makes me annoyed. Whereas this is, you know, it feels more real life, I suppose, in the sense of real life as it can get around him being Spider-Man.
Yeah, because I mean, like, people don't have these like tortured, dark, brooding personalities.
I'm
like,
so dark.
yeah, like in the real world, they have these like super awkward relationships, nerdy friendships, like in-jokes references, you know.
Yeah. There isn't actually a lot that we can say with spoilers, without spoilers, because like everybody else has been saying online, a lot of the stuff from the trailer is like the first 20 minutes, if that.
Wait. The music is good.
The music is great, yeah. It's very colourful.
Visuals are lovely, that is correct.
Yep.
Because I was worried actually since because we watched Captain Marvel, which in my opinion has some rather ugly cinematography,
Yes.
and then Endgame looks beautiful, but it's quite dark.
We obviously seeing Endgame again just a couple of days ago, I feel that it is going to age very quickly, and I think I said that to you afterwards. That like the CGI is gonna, I feel it's gonna age quite quickly. Whereas with this, I felt like all the CGI parts, although you could tell obviously what was CGI and what wasn't, I don't feel it's gonna age as much as Endgame kind of already has.
I think it's because Endgame goes for a very realistic approach, whereas Spider-Man has a more cartoony, stylized.
It's very much, yeah, it's much more cartoony, and I feel that works towards it.
I think Tom Holland is great. I think he's the best Spider-Man.
Yeah, the acting is fantastic. It freaks me out that he has a child's face and a man's body. It's just like, but you know, I'll get over it. Yeah. It's great.
Should we just go for full spoilers?
Yeah, okay, spoiler alert, everyone. If you haven't seen it, just turn this off right now, go see the film, and then come back. If you have seen it, enjoy.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, let's do this. Before the movie, when I was watching the trailers, I knew that Mysterio was lying about something, but I couldn't work it out. Like, it was really bugging me. Everything he said was so convincing, and I could understand how it was twisty.
I genuinely thought he was going to go for a good guy approach, but then as soon as the first monster, the Hydra Man monster, comes in Venice, and he's like, lead it away from the canals, but then leads it into the middle of somewhere, I was like, he is setting this up. As soon as that happened, I knew he was either setting it up, like, had something with the monster, whether he was actually really from another dimension or not, or like it was where it was like an illusion, although I didn't foresee that as much as it was. I was just like, he is setting this up somehow. That's all I knew at that point.
Because for a while I almost believed that he was potentially an agent from another world sent here. But yeah, so like beforehand I couldn't tell what he was lying about. I knew he was lying about something, but I couldn't tell what. I was so happy to find out he's lying about everything. Everything is a lie. It's all an illusion. This is full comic book Mysterio.
He is a full-on illusionist, like the comic book, and I feel like it worked so well.
Jake Gyllenhaal is great as well.
He is great. Yeah. He does look. I found that he looks a lot like Tom Holland, and at one point I actually almost thought, like, is he like a different Peter Parker from like another universe or something? And I kind of toyed with that for about 5 minutes before being like, no, he's just a bad guy.
So what we've got Quentin Beck in this, rather than being a former movie special effects guy like he is in the comics. In this, he is he's a former employee of Tony Stark Enterprises. Specifically, he develops the tech for at the start of Civil War, Tony Stark's built this little hologram so that he can
the flashback, and they've just like superimposed him in the background.
Just looking angry.
Just looking like it's like, hey, look, he put you in. But if you rewatch it, you're not there.
They just won't show you that angle.
I like the idea, you know, that they put him in. They actually really thought about it, and I feel that him being somebody who worked for Tony worked really, really well, because obviously now that Iron Man is dead, it just made so much sense.
And I love the fact as well that, like, whereas in the comics he's quite often working alone, whereas in this he's now like he's got like a whole team of people, because that's realistically what you would need to pull off an operation like this.
Yeah.
Like, even in the first one, Vulture still had a whole crew involving 2 Shockers and like the Tinkerer. And so I appreciated the fact that even like Mysterio has this whole team of scientists who have all been burned by Tony Stark at some point. Because like I think it'd be very easy for like, because when you just watch the movies, you go, "Oh, Tony Stark invented this and Tony Stark invented that," but that's not how science works. Science requires teams of people developing things. There's no one person who can come up with like an innovation. So I loved the idea that like all of these people who like Tony Stark has just taken the credit for all of their inventions. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, I feel that you're right in the sense that I lost my train of thought now. You're right in the sense that having this group of people who can create these massive illusions, where originally, one person, it wouldn't really be a possibility. But having like all these different people with different like skills, and the woman who just steams his cloak. Are you still gonna need the cloak? Yes, I need the cloak.
He never wears that at the end either.
I know, but it's such a great. I love the idea that she's just there the whole time steaming this cloak. Yeah, it makes sense, and it works with the narrative of the whole narrative from Avengers and everything.
Like I both love his costume, and I also love it when he's walking around in like this mocap suit with just the fishbowl on.
Just a fishbowl and a little microphone, like a little headset.
Because the whole way through he's like this really nice, charming guy, and I thought that was cool. And then you get to the one scene in the bar where Peter hands over the Edith glasses, which when you see the movie will make perfect sense.
At that point you just know that he's a bad guy and that he's been lying, and you're just like, no! There's just nothing that you can do.
I was sat on the edge of my seat like, come on, this is a bad idea. Come on, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. And then like the second that like Peter walks out, and then you start to see like the holograms disappearing, and I was like, the Master of Illusion, Mysterio! And he gives this fantastic speech.
Yeah. Also, I just want to cut back to the cloak thing again. Just one thing I want to point out about his costume, and a lot of people remember this quote from previous movie. Doth mother know you wear her drapes? I was just like, man, that is curtains, like the whole way. That is old lady curtains right there.
Oh.
Anyway, yes, continue. Yeah, you know that as soon as that goes, it's like, no!
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier about how it does mean that the elementals featured in the trailer are just illusions. They are not Hydro Man, Sandman, Molten Man.
They do name drop Hydro Man, and the backstory is like a little Easter egg, but it's obviously not actually Hydro Man. It is just an illusion to be like him, which I thought, although I was excited for like Hydro Man and Sandman and Molten Man and whatever, but I think being able to keep, like, especially Sandman, they didn't really use him very, at all, really, in the movie. They certainly didn't name drop him. So, keeping Sandman, I think, was a really good idea, because I think he'll be a really good one for future films.
Yeah, and I think that visually, they make for great action scenes. They are, because they're portrayed as just these kind of, like, monstrous, non-sentient beings, almost.
They're quite scary, really. Like, the illusions that come of them, they are quite terrifying, because they have no, there is no person behind it that you could reason with. It is just a monster at that point.
One of the things I really want to talk about is, for me, my favourite sequence in the film. It's...
See if it's the same.
It is, it's the big... In my mind, it's the proper Mysterio versus Spider-Man sequence.
Oh, okay.
Which happens in the middle of the film.
Right.
Where Mysterio... Spider-Man is now onto Mysterio, he knows what's up. So Mysterio tricks him into going to, like, this location, and then just bombards him with illusion upon illusion upon illusion. And it's just the most trippy, visually beautiful, quite scary at times, just nightmarish.
There's a bit with like multiple Mysterios, and it feels very much like how you would imagine it from the comics, and I'm sure some of those are probably taken. I didn't read much of the
almost
Spider-Man Mysterio like story arc, but I imagine some of those are literally taken from comic and put onto film, and I really enjoy that fact that they've done that. They've made it, look so trippy. It is so trippy. You're just like, what the hell is going on? And it changes time and time again, and yeah, it's mental. I did enjoy that scene. I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about it, and then I'll tell you my favorite scene.
Well, I've got one more thing to say about it, which is when I was watching that sequence, I was like, oh, this is cool. However, one thing that I always remember from the cartoons and from the comics is Mysterio always making an illusion train to trick.
It's a real train.
Like, I don't know if you we watched some of the episodes from like the cartoon.
Some of the Mysterio episodes.
And the one thing he does in that is he makes a fake train and Mysterio's train so that Spider-Man has to jump out the way, and he's like, oh, it wasn't a real train. And I was like, oh, it's a shame that they're not going to do the illusion train. And then, oh my god, he gets tricked.
Do a real train.
Mysterio tricks Spider-Man into being hit by a real train. And it's such a quick, sudden impact. I was just like, oh my god, it's got hit by a train.
I love how beaten up he gets, and how he just keeps getting back up. And I almost felt a few times like, when Cap is like, I could do this all day. And he just keeps getting back up, and he's like limping around, and he's all bleeding everywhere, and he's got like a black eye, and it's just like he just keeps going at it. He
Takes it
trips
again,
on.
keeps on ticking.
Yeah. My favourite scene is actually just after that, when he meets up again with Happy, and he's on the jet, and he's like, what do I do? And he's having like this crisis, and then it kind of kicks in. Everything kicks in. Just the whole thing kind of, he figures out what he needs to do, and he gets the ability to build his own suit. Oh my god, that was the coolest moment for me. I absolutely loved that scene.
That is cool.
Where he's figuring it out, and because you know he's smart, and you know he's intelligent, and he says things which are intelligent, but it was that point where he almost becomes Iron Man, and Happy is just stood there and he is just so joyful. He's just so happy. But that Spider-Man is doing that, because that's obviously what Iron Man knew all along.
Tony
That
was
he
the
was
right guy.
he was the right person, yeah. So that moment, and then he puts on like the little.
He makes the hologram version of the Gauntlet, and he puts it on the same way as they do in Iron Man.
Oh,
movies.
that got me in the feels. That I really, really enjoyed that scene. That's the one that's going to stick with me, I think, out of everything. Although I did enjoy the fight scenes, and I did enjoy like the comedy bits and the relationshipy bits, but that was the scene that I think really, it was a real kicker for me. That was, that got me in the feels.
Do you reckon that reflects on us, our personalities, the fact that your favourite scene is the scene involving the hero doing something triumphant, and then my favourite scene is the scene of the villain being triumphant?
No, because we all know that if we both got superpowers, you'd be a hero and I'd be a villain.
Yeah, that's fair enough, yeah.
But I think I don't know, I just find that again links everything together really nicely. That's, I don't know. And I think with your comic book history and your love for like all the Spider-Man stuff in the past means that you're more led towards the Mysterio elements, because he's a great villain.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Mysterio is dead?
No.
Because I am really dubious, because they do the death fake out once and he's still there,
Yeah, but then.
and then they do it again, and then he dies, I'm doing the little finger quotation
Yeah.
marks, he dies.
But then he asks Peter asks Edith if that's real, and she says, although she doesn't say he's dead, she just says there's no more illusions. Because I thought he was gonna ask if Mysterio was dead, and he doesn't. He just says, is this real? which I think is quite nice as well, because it shows you that, like, it's just totally messed with his mind. Like the bit where he asks Happy to tell him something that only he would know, because it's just totally messing with his mind. He can't trust anyone, and he needs that confirmation. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe. What did you think of all the relationships that happen in this movie?
I think that one of the strongest, one of the biggest reasons why a lot of superheroes and comic book characters are so beloved and go on for so long is, in my opinion, for two reasons. One, they're rogues gallery, all the villains, and B, two, whichever one I did.
I don't remember.
Either A1 or B2, whatever. It's the supporting cast.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man's always had a fantastic supporting cast, and I loved all of it. I think that Aunt May and Happy Hogan together are
great.
adorable.
I love that.
And I think Jon Favreau and Marissa Tomei bounce really well off each other. I mean, obviously they're both actors of a certain age.
Yeah.
And I think that just gives them like this really nice...
I'm actually really enjoying this young Aunt May. I think that it was a really good choice to make her younger, because obviously she would have been a bit younger. She wouldn't necessarily have been this like old lady, and I think that it works so much better.
It literally took until seeing Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and the whole sort of like, hey, Peter's like a teenager, so his aunt would only be like in her like 40s, maybe 50s. I now cannot fathom why they would ever go for like the frail elderly old lady.
Even in Spider-Verse, Aunt May isn't like this frail old lady. She is a bit older, because obviously at that point Peter is 26, I think. So she would be a bit older, but she's still like quite strong-willed, and she's strong in herself. She's not like this frail, weak old lady. So yeah, I appreciate that they've gone for this now. I suppose it's almost just the modernized version, and I appreciate it. I do prefer it.
I liked Ned and Betty Brant. I thought
so random.
I thought that was a nice way of giving them something to do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
In a story that otherwise wouldn't have involved them, and and it's quite a funny reveal at the beginning, because the whole point is that Peter's like, oh, I'm coming here, I'm going to tell them how I feel, we're going to start a relationship, and then Ned's like, oh no, we're going to be bachelors in Europe, and then like within like the plane journey, he's like, nope, I'm in a relationship now.
Yeah, it kind of gives a nice little bit of, I feel like, comedy relief in a way, because every time they're on scene, it's kind of silly or light-hearted, rather than being quite serious. And that's obviously what Spider-Man movies are about, is about being more light-hearted, mixed in with the serious, fights with the bad guys.
Before we get to the big relationship, one thing which I did quite like is just like this minor little throwaway moment, but I loved it, when Flash Thompson arrives at the airport when they arrive home.
Oh, yeah.
And his obviously his family's driver is there, and he asks if Mother could make it to come see him, and the driver's like, nope.
So I don't know if you noticed, like, a couple of times through the movie they put in little bits towards that.
I think he's messaging her.
Yeah, so he's messaging saying, I don't know if he's messaging his mum or if he's messaging someone else saying, will I see Mother and Father soon, or something like that. And then when they're in the treasury and they're about to like potentially die, he says something about it as well.
Yeah.
And you kind of start to feel sorry for this guy who's a bit of a douchebag.
Oh, he says, I make dumb videos because I need the attention that I don't get.
Yeah, it's kind of like, aw.
I quite liked this modern take on Flash, because he's basically, because he's still the bully, but he's like the modern day kind of bully, where he's got
Go on.
just where he's got like nuance, and he's got like, whereas in the olden days it was like, oh, he's a big tough guy, he's just a bit of a jerk, whereas now it's like, no, he's actually got reasons for the reasons why he acts out.
I think it also works with the idea of having this like high IQ school is that he's not just this dumb jock who's like, oh, I'm going to beat you up for no reason.
Shove you in a locker.
Yeah, he's actually, like, he's still very intelligent and he's acting out and being mean and horrible, even though they're still kind of friends, still kind of in the same friendship group, but he's being, like, mean every now and again because and he's got reasons because he obviously has these home issues, and I thought that was a really nice touch. It just gave him a bit more character depth.
Now let's talk about Peter and MJ.
I love them so much. Ah! Oh, just they're so cute and so awkward, and I just
Zendaya's great.
She is amazing, and she looks so young in this, and I'm so freaking jealous because I want to look that young again.
It's really weird watching Tom Holland and Zendaya do scenes together.
Because they both look like children.
Yeah, because I think it's like the way they act, the way that they're both very, very youthful looking.
I want to clarify when I say children, I mean teenagers.
I'm just there like, you guys are 100% like 16-year-olds who don't know how to talk like proper humans.
Yep. I also like the fact that MJ in this is not like MJ or Gwen Stacy like the originals. She's very different. She's, again, very realistic in terms of, like, she's quite dark and she's kind of got her own personality, and she's a bit weird, a bit kooky, and kind of, like, almost, like, shoved out. Like, she feels quite isolated, which obviously, again, comes across in this, in part.
Introverted.
Yeah, and she kind of, keeps herself to herself because she thinks she's weird, and she likes, like, dark things. Like, she constantly goes on about murders and tortures and stuff like that, and I kind of what's the word? Empathize with her, because I kind of get that sometimes.
Because I'll admit, when I was watching the movie, I was like, I know people like this.
Yeah.
Like, I know people who are just like her.
Yeah, and Peter, again, is just so awkward and doesn't know how to, like, talk to girls, especially, obviously MJ, who he really likes. Like, he has this big plan, and it just doesn't go how he wants because he's like kind of awkward, and he obviously wants to do the right thing in terms of being the superhero, but he wants to spend time with her.
I love the fact that, like, compared to like a lot of the other situations that he's in, MJ has the ability to say things which completely throw him off.
Yeah.
Like, he has no way of reacting to them. Like the whole thing where he's like, oh, you look really pretty, and she's like, oh, so I have worth.
yeah. And he's like,
Or when, like, he's like, oh, I got something to tell you, and she's like, oh, you're Spider-Man.
I actually really like the fact that a lot of movies, obviously nowadays, they do the relationship thing, and it's like, oh, look, they're happy together, and then halfway through now something happened and they're not getting on. Oh. But they don't do that in this movie. They're friends and they get on, and then that just develops into this relationship, and it's really nice. I really appreciate that, because I hate it when movies are like, oh, look, they're together. Oh, no, they're not. Oh, now they hate each other because there's a misunderstanding and they're not talking to each other. It's not realistic. Like, people communicate in real life.
Yeah, they work through things.
Yeah, so I appreciate that they didn't do that with this, and I hope that continues, because obviously, with a lot of the original Spider-Man stuff, it's like, oh, hey, look, there's MJ, and especially I'm going back to through the films here, so when it was, the original Spider-Man trilogy, and it's like, oh, look, here's MJ, and then, oh, no, Peter's changed, and MJ doesn't like him anymore, and they're not getting on, and blah,
You were
blah,
late
blah,
for my play. That means
God,
you don't care.
Yeah, I just can't deal with that, because it's just a load of rubbish. So, yeah, I really like their relationship.
I love the fact that, like, they're friends, the relationship evolves, she kind of works out that he's Spider-Man, and then she just kind of rolls with it. She's very understanding.
Yeah.
I like the little sneaky peek when he's trying to get changed, because she's a teenager, she's a teenager, she got hormones. She wants to check out the goods. Don't blame her.
Even though it's really weird with his child face
on a
and
man's body.
Yeah, I can't get over that. I have another question for you. how do you feel about the Peter tingles?
I thought it was a fantastic joke, but at no point do they call it Spidey sense.
No, I was a bit like, oh.
I was like, this is cute, and I get it, but can we just call it Spider sense?
But then at the end, when it all comes into fruition and he uses his Peter tingles.
Oh, when he finally defeats Mysterio using nothing but the Spider sense. I'm going to call it Spider sense. When he uses nothing but Spider sense to defeat Mysterio, I was like, that is perfect, because that is exactly how a comic book would end.
Yeah, even when Mysterio shoots at Peter, and he knows exactly where it's coming from, and he grabs the gun before he can actually hit him or anything. That whole scene, that gave me tingles. That gave me Amy tingles.
You get to see, in that moment, it's fantastic. You get to see the desperation and the villainy in Mysterio, and also Spider-Man's eyes are welling up.
Yeah.
He is so upset by all of this.
Well, because also when the scene where he's actually defeating the bots and stuff, the drones with his spider sense, he's actually for half of it got his eyes closed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then there's that really really emotive scene where he can see that Mysterio is basically dying, and there's kind of nothing he can do, and he's just like, you lied to me, and he feels betrayed, and he all the things that he then did wrong because somebody lied to him, and you really feel it in that scene, and I mean they both just play their characters so well.
Right, we're nearly home, and there's some big stuff to talk about, so I'm just going to rapid fire some other bits I liked.
We can just keep going. I'll just keep driving around the block.
I think that one of the greatest original creations for the MCU is the character of Mr. Harrigan, Peter Parker's teacher, who has the most unbelievably worst, impossibly bad life. And I think he is so funny.
The bit where he's like, oh yeah, my wife pretended that she blipped, which is their word for being snapped. Oh yeah, my wife pretended that she blipped. And
so we had a
funeral. Oh, he just has he has the worst life and the worst luck.
I still love the joke from the first one when he's like, oh, I'm so glad we didn't lose a student on a school trip. Can't go through that. Not again.
Yeah. And then he's like, when Peter tells him, he's like, oh, thank God, Peter, you're not dead.
Stay here. Don't die.
Don't die. Yeah.
He's great.
That is a great character. I do really like that character.
I love the fact that because when they were bringing Samuel Jackson back as Nick Fury, I was kind of like, Nick Fury's not my favorite character, but I really liked the interpretation in this film where he's just constantly annoyed with having to deal with Spider-Man. Everything Spider-Man does is in some way an annoyance to him, and I appreciate that, because if you were this super agent head of security world or whatever, and you just had this teenager who's just acting like a teenager, you'd be like, oh my god, teenagers are the worst.
Well, also with Nick Fury, I mean, this is the big reveal, so if you didn't stick around for the post-credits, I mean, come on, guys.
Are you doing
come
the
on, guys.
Post-credits?
This is the post-credits, so right at the very end, because Nick Fury is currently a Skrull. Whoa!
Not just any Skrull.
Go on.
At the end of the film, Nick Fury and Maria Hill, the entire time they've been in this movie, are revealed to be Talos and Talos' wife from Captain Marvel. Ben Mendelsohn and everything.
And Nick Fury is on a Skrull planet. I don't know, wherever that is.
The Skrull planet is called Skrullos.
Wow, that's original. Well done, Marvel.
Whether or not they're actually on that planet or not, but the Skrulls seem to have built up a serious numbers since we last saw them at the end of Captain Marvel, and they have Nick Fury. I don't know how long they've had him for.
So what's your thoughts on them actually using the Skrulls as, good guys? I presume.
I love it. The Skrulls were probably my favorite part of Captain Marvel, to be honest. I didn't necessarily get on that well with.
Harsh.
Well,
Yeah.
I had the way that they choose to portray Captain Marvel in the movie. I thought there was issues.
Talk about the Skrulls.
Yeah, but I thought that Ben Mendelsohn as Talos was great.
Yeah.
I thought he was like this completely likable character. You could sort of understand where he's coming from. He's got clear motivations. He cares about his family.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with the Skrulls being good guys.
They did the setup, and now we're getting the payoff. And oh man, yeah. I mean, the post credit scene made me happy. The other post credit scenes, so the mid credits, I wasn't so keen on. I wasn't as pleased with.
I'm going to disagree with Amy because it made me so happy.
I don't know. So the mid credits, they basically Mysterio has made a video before he died, or someone made a video before he died, in inverted commas, that Spider-Man is actually a bad guy and killed Mysterio, and they've edited it and they're putting it out as, oh, Spider-Man is now a bad guy. And I mean, the one thing that I did enjoy was the fact that they bring J. Jonah Jameson back, which is what you were going to say.
You completely buried the lead.
But, yeah, I just... Spider-Man's a bad guy, and, oh, hey, look, here's his identity.
None of that matters because J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, that made me very happy. But the rest of it, I was like, oh, we're going down that road. And that just kind of,
For ages, everyone said that J.K. Simmons is 100% like
He's
the
only
perfect
person
character.
who can play J. Jonah Jameson.
And
Yeah.
they just decided, rather than recasting, we're just going to bring him back for the new version of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much. I was so happy. As for the whole Spider-Man being framed, I don't even think that will necessarily carry across. This has always been J. Jonah Jameson's thing, and the Daily Bugle's thing is a hate campaign against Spider-Man, which is not necessarily reflected by the people of New York.
No, and what you were saying actually at the beginning earlier about that puts Spider-Man in the same position as Iron Man at the end of Iron Man 1.
Mysterio's like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They even have a little picture of Peter Parker
Peter
come up.
Parker. No, I do get it from that point of view, but I was just really hope that they don't go down that route too much. I do hope that it is just like a Daily Bugle thing, that it was, like a throwaway comment almost.
I'm pretty sure, because if you remember the cliffhanger to the first Spider-Man movie as well, and the cliffhanger to Homecoming is Aunt May finds out that he's Peter Parker.
Okay, yeah, and it just goes, okay.
And this movie just carries on like it's completely normal, like,
true.
like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay.
So
well, we'll see.
I think that it's just this particular style of in these films they like to have that.
I'm hoping it's just a way of introducing J. Jonah Jameson, because that is great. Yeah, I do appreciate that. That's great. I do love the fact that he is the only person who can play that character.
Yeah, and it'll bring back the Daily Bugle and bring back the hate campaign against Spider-Man, because you know Spider-Man can't have too many good things in his life, because that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Anything else to say?
I think we've covered all the big topics.
Covered most of it. I mean, we might maybe at some point we'll do a second part to this, where we'll talk a bit more about it once we've had a think, and I'm sure we'll go see it again. So we might just do a second part then.
Or if the next movie that we watch is rubbish, then we'll just start talking about Spider-Man halfway through.
Because why not? So yeah, go see Spider-Man Far From Home if you haven't already. If you have already, go see it again, because it's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. It's spectacular. It's a web of. It's astonishing. It's ultimate.
Nice. Oh, also, just before we do go, the Easter egg of Universe, was it 616? Which is the actual.
It's the universe
main
for the main
timeline,
comic book Marvel continuity.
And I like the fact they dropped that in. I was like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, they've put that in. We've kind of like confirmed in a roundabout way that this is the kind of original universe, if you will. So.
Okay, action item for this week. Do you think Mysterio's dead?
Yeah. Let us know if you think he's dead or not.
Because I certainly do not think so, because he's the master of illusion, so...
Yeah, it's questionable.
Is it a life model decoy? Is it a robot?
And did you like his fishbowl? Yes or no? That's no.
Because you can say no, but you're wrong. Because the answer is his fishbowl is amazing.
And his drapes.
So like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the little bell to stay notified.
Do all those things and more.
And most importantly, go see Spider-Man.